This is our week 4 DFS Draftkings breakdown. We're going to go through position by position, give you our favorite plays at the expensive, mid-tier, and the cheap end. And then we'll build a Millie Maker lineup at the end. I'm missing Nick today. He's
He's an island boy.
he's an island boy this week, so we won't have his terrible takes. No, I'm joking. But all right. As always, we start out with quarterback and our favorite expensive guy. We'll go one by one. Who wants to start us off?
I'll jump in. So in terms of the top end guys this week, we kind of touched on it a little bit in the bets episode, but obviously this Miami Buffalo game, highest total on the week, a game that is going to be extremely high owned. But I think given the prices between Josh Allen and Tua, I think you're going to see a significantly higher owned Tua than you are Josh Allen. So I think if you want to get exposure to this game in terms of like a quarterback stack here, I think Josh Allen is definitely the way to go. You're going to have to get a little bit different. You're going to have to get a little bit gross, probably at a wide receiver 3 spot to fit it in because it's expensive. But the Tua stack is going to be just as expensive if you're trying to get Tyreek in there. So Josh Allen, my favorite guy at the top. I don't like Hurts as much against that Washington front. I think that limits his rushing upside a little bit. So in terms of the most expensive guys, him and Herbert are probably the two I'm looking at the most because I don't like Lamar a ton either against Cleveland, whose defense has just been balling out.
Yeah, I'm on board with
Yeah.
you with Allen. Okay. You want to go, Corey?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, same two quarterbacks. I think Allen and Herbert. I've been on Herbert all year. I don't know if the Chargers can kind of keep it up, but I mean, no Austin Eckler again. I mean, Kelly can't run the ball. I mean, they
Dude,
can't run the
what
ball. They
is
look bad.
that? What is that,
Yeah.
man? Like, I plugged
Uh,
him in year long the last 2 weeks because of Eckler being on. It's just like 2 points,
yeah,
two
it's
points.
it's
What
not good. It's not good.
horrible.
So
He
I
blew
think you
his
got Herbert.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Herbert as well. I mean, he's been doing all well. He's been doing well the entire season. So at 26 or at 7,800, I like him as well as against the Chargers at home or against the
Yeah.
Raiders. Sorry.
Yeah.
See, I like Herb. Like it's a good, but his price has just gotten too high for me. Like he just, in my opinion, he cannot match. Like I mean, Lamar's cheaper than him, and then Hertz is $200 more, and Allen is $400 more. Like I just cannot play Herbert at this price tag. Um, like he just doesn't have that rushing upside to really like burn. Like at 8K for a quarterback to like burn you, he's got to put up like minimum 35 plus to
Yeah.
like actually like you really wish you had him. But I'm on Allen in that Miami game. I think Buffalo wins that game. I think it's one of those like just massive Allen scores where he's just going off with his legs, throwing touchdowns. So if I'm paying up at quarterback, it's for sure Allen. I'm just probably just fading Lamar, Herbert, Hurts, Tua, even Kirk Cousins, who's now above 7K, which for a pocket passer is just harder now in DFS to get
Yep.
there. So that's who I'm going. It's Josh Allen for me this week.
Yep.
What about the mid tier?
I mean, I think you have to look at Anthony Richardson, 6,700. I mean, his rushing upside against the Rams defense. I'm not too worried about Aaron Donald, but Colts offensive line has looked pretty good. They've only given up like maybe 4 or 5 sacks. But that was with Gardner Minshew in there. So, and no starting offensive center in Kelly. So, I mean, I like Anthony Richardson with his running upside, but I mean, yeah, it just other than that, I mean, Burrow's not fully healthy. I mean, I know he had a okay game last week, but I mean, anything like right at home about. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, if you want if you want to go below, if we're going to talk about even below that, I mean, Matthew Stafford at 5,700 against the Colts pass defense, maybe. I mean, it could be a sneaky shootout game. I don't know, but I mean, or maybe just get the pieces elsewhere. But yeah, I think other than Richardson, not really looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, PB.
Just cutting each other off all
No, no.
all
You're good,
video.
brother. You're good, brother. Go ahead.
um, no, Richardson, he's going to project well because of that rushing upside. But my biggest worry is he's coming off of a concussion, so I feel like they may not want him to run the ball as much because, like, obviously your highest risk of getting concussion is right after the first one. So I'm a bit worried about that. Um, so I it's gonna be hard to like. I probably will just have to be under the field. I'll probably play a little bit of him, but I won't like him as much as I have in past weeks. And then if he does this week, I'll be right back on him next week because I think he'll start to run the ball more. But for me, it's Joe Burrow or Deshaun Watson. Against this Titans team, I thought Burrow finally every single year, the Bengals and Burrow, they start off slow the first 3 games, like it every time, and then they just catch fire. You almost saw Burrow really starting to get into his groove in that second half,
He
and
looked a lot better. He
oh
looked a
yeah,
lot better in that second half. He looked way more comfortable in the pocket. He was moving a little bit more. He's for sure still not right. Like, I mean, if you just visually look at
yeah,
his 2 legs, you can tell the one that's
yeah,
injured. You can tell the one
for
that's not
sure.
healthy. And so you're definitely playing a risk there, but he did seem to come alive a little bit in that second half.
Yeah, whenever I can get Joey Burrow like at under 5%, like it's just that you get Chase Higgins or Chase Boyd, like you just get two of those receivers in there. And against this Tennessee team, that my biggest worry is Tennessee being able to push Cincinnati and like keep it close. But I don't know. I think Burrow's gonna sling it against this Titans defense. And then Watson was my other one. Just I think that game goes over on the bet show. I said I thought this game would go over, and I think Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore have great matchups against the Ravens. Um, and I think it could be like a really sneaky shootout game, divisional shootout. So it's Watson and Burrow for me.
The only other guy I want to touch on, and I know it's been really bad, and I know it's a homer pick, but Justin Fields and what the Dolphins were able to do on the rushing side of things in particular
Yeah,
against the Broncos, and just how much that defense basically gave up. I mean, it's one thing to let up 40 points and say that a team gave up, but you see some of those videos, you see some of those screenshots. If you watch the game, obviously they put up 70, but on top of that, there's just absolutely no effort from the Broncos on defense. And a large part of that came in the rushing game. Obviously, Justin Fields' rushing upside is what makes him playable in DFS. It's not the passing, as we've all seen. But I think if you're gonna play him at some point this year in DFS, I think this is one of the matchups that you do it in, just strictly on matchup alone. And I mean, at a certain point, you got to expect the Bears to basically say, we're either getting the first pick and we don't care about Justin Fields' health and we're going to run him a ton, or the season's already over and we don't care about Justin Fields' health and necessarily keeping him safe in the pocket, and we're going to run him because it's our best chance to do something on offense. So I think in the mid range, I think he is playable this week. I don't love it, but that rushing upside is what makes it viable, in my opinion.
yeah. If I had to pick a fourth guy, actually, and I'm not a Fields guy
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
But to me, it's like I'm playing a running back at 6,600
yeah,
because I agree they are going to just have to start running him. Like
yeah.
that's
It's
the
the
only thing
only
that's
option. It's the only
so.
option at this point. I mean,
Like if you're telling me you're getting a quarterback that's just going to play running back, but also have the chance to maybe throw a few touchdowns, like
you
obviously
still
that's
have DJ Moore.
yeah. So I'm not
The
opposed.
cheapest you're gonna get these players at, I think, especially if
Yeah. those
They do
mid-tier
well.
guys for sure.
No.
I think now that I'm thinking about it, I do think Justin Fields will end up being the guy that is like everyone's sneaky play this week. I think
You
like
think
just
this is the
thinking
one
through it.
week that people will actually play him?
Yes. I
Yeah.
do
The
think
last
that
week.
he
Yeah.
will end up becoming like, oh, like everyone's off of field and everyone's gonna have that same thought process.
Yeah.
So if getting closer to like Sunday, if I really think through that, it might just take me right back off of him. If Fields is gonna be like high owned, I want nothing to do with it, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Any cheap guys you guys like?
I mean, not entirely. I mean, I I
The
mean,
cheap guys don't have great matchups this week, in my
The only
opinion.
one that does, but I just his ceiling just always seems so capped where like is Jimmy Garoppolo against the Chargers with Adams and Jacoby. It's just like it's the easiest stack because that target share on that team is literally Myers and Adams.
Yep.
Like you'd have no worries about like, oh, did I pick the right guy to stack him? You know exactly who it is. So it makes it really easy if you end up getting that one thing right, right? If you're right about Jimmy Garoppolo that he has his like 3 or 4 touchdown game, you have all the pieces because you're getting Adams and Jacoby. And so it's probably the easiest stack in all of the NFL to just no matter what nail.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Chargers defense has not been great.
No, they're gonna have to pass all games.
I kind of like targeting them in the run game a little bit there too, though. But I guess game script is probably not the best for that because the Chargers are going to put up points on Vegas for sure. So
yeah.
Jacobs does catch some passes though, but
true.
and then I'm gonna also shout out Jameis because going against his old team, revenge game, Olave and Michael Thomas, just
I
and
think the
Rashid Shaheed, like they all line up with Winston's skill set. I'm playing some Winston this week.
Yeah, I think you're going to get burned on
Yeah.
interceptions there. I think he might put up a lot of yards, but I think you're going to get burned on the interceptions.
If I get 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, and 2 interceptions, that's at 5,300. I mean, it's still paying off.
That's lofty with Kamara coming back.
You are living in a fairy tale.
That is
Yeah.
lofty with Kamara back.
All right, running back.
Yeah, I mean, I know Christian McCaffrey's 9,200 against Arizona. Deebo Samuel might be out. I mean, I know he's so expensive. He's got to do so much to pay that off, but it's against Arizona. Christian McCaffrey's looked unstoppable. I mean, what's the highest he's ever been priced at? Like 10K, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I still feel like at 9,200, he's still a good play. Obviously, if that's the case, that means you're going to the dumpster bin for a couple positions. But I mean, at 9,200, he's a great play. And I think Josh Jacobs against the Chargers as well as a solid play there, is just to kind of counteract against the Chargers, who are not very good against the run.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Tony Pollard put up 122 yards. He didn't get into the end zone, but if he had, he would have paid off his price tag against the Cardinals last week. So I don't hate the CMC play with a guy who we all know puts up multiple touchdowns against bad defenses all the time. And yeah, Josh Jacobs, as you mentioned, as I mentioned, the Chargers' run defense has been abysmal. So while game script might not be the most in his favor, with the Chargers probably putting up some points, PB mentioned he catches some balls out of the backfield. Zamir White is not huge competition there, so you're getting a guy that's getting a large majority of the snaps in a game that the Raiders are going to have to put up points to have some sort of chance.
Yeah,
if we'll put it that way.
For me, I like the Josh Jacobs call. Like I do think he's a good play, and he's like a guy that hasn't paid off his tag at all this year. And I don't know, he's still getting a ton of opportunities, and maybe his efficiency is down from last year, but off the volume alone, I like it. And then Pollard at 7,800. See, McCaffrey worries me because I think this is the game that they can really get Elijah Mitchell involved. just because I mean, if they get a big lead, I just don't see them running McCaffrey out there. I think it's
Yeah,
going to
why
be like,
risk it?
yeah, that's my biggest worry about him. Pollard, I love. I mean, his role is unmatched. Like it's right there with McCaffrey. Um, it's crazy. Like he gets so many targets. He gets all the. I mean, Rico Dowdle randomly steals a few, but it's pretty much all Pollard, the opportunities he gets. And it's not like the Patriot. I mean, Mostert just went for like 125 and 2 on them a few weeks ago. Um, so I mean, I'm not like Pollard can still have a great game against New England. So those two are my favorite pay ups. Now, what about like the mid range, kind of in that six K range? There's one that absolutely stands out. It's like my favorite running back play, maybe of the
Let's hear it.
Yeah, go for
Kyron.
it. Kyron?
Yeah, Kyron Williams is his role is there's not a single player besides McCaffrey in the competitive game.
And
Um,
Pollard.
and Pollard, but it's better than Pollard's. I think his role he doesn't come off the field the whole game. He
Yeah.
doesn't like leave.
Yeah.
It's all his, and that you don't see that in the NFL really right now. Like there's so many committee back. Like it's all Kyron. He gets every touch. They target him like crazy. Like I know he busted. What was it? The other night against the Bengals, he busted,
Last
but
week. Yeah.
he had a crazy amount of targets again. I swear he had like 8+ targets, and he only caught a few. But I mean, he's my favorite running back play, and he's going to be popular. But
Yeah, because I don't love a ton of guys in this like five
like,
to
I'm not playing
six K
Zach Moss.
range. I don't love the like 5 to 6K range on running backs this week. I mean, you've got James
I
Conner
don't either.
going against San Fran. You've got Madison, who Cam Akers is there now, didn't play last week, but you'd presume will play this week. A chain in the split backfield with Mostert, Swift against Washington's front, Rashad White against New Orleans defense,
Yeah,
Ryan
to me,
Robinson against Philly. Like,
it's like the lower 5K range is
yeah,
good in my opinion. There's a few in the upper, like I kind of like Madison, but like Zach Moss and Kyron are the same price. And I think Zach Moss, after his performance, I mean, Zach Moss's role was great, but
huge.
his problem is Anthony Richardson is now back.
Yeah.
And that is the better running back of the two. So I'm playing Kyron over Moss every time. And I mean, Kamara, I have a little bit of an interest in his first game back.
I think you definitely have
Uh,
to sprinkle some Kamara. I mean, just with is
yeah,
Jamal playing?
He's
no,
not on the injury report. Is
Yeah.
he? Oh yeah, he's hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I
so
mean,
it'll be Kendra and Kamara.
they haven't really gone to Kendre a whole lot, even when he's
Yeah.
been the featured back. So like,
He's coming
and
off
you,
of an injury though. I think they were.
yeah,
I think they want him to be like the early down guy.
I just don't see it with Kamara being healthy. I mean, plus you get Kamara in the passing game as well. Obviously, that Jameis being the starter there hurts that a little bit because he's more of a downfield passer than Carr is. When Carr's playing, Kamara is an absolute smash at 6K, 6,100 because he checks down a lot more. But yeah, I mean, like this 5 to 6K range is not a ton of pickings. I like the Kyron call on usage alone and in a game that I think could be definitely a sneaky shootout. Like it's the third highest total on the board this week. And assuming Richardson stays healthy throughout the game, I think both sides are going to have to be pushing the ball the entire game.
Yeah.
So
So it's kind of like, yeah, we like the above the 7K. I mean, for me, it's mainly just Kyron in the 6K.
yeah,
I'm not playing Mostert against Buffalo in a game. I think Buffalo wins.
yeah.
Um, and then yeah, to me, it's I like Madison against Carolina a little bit.
I want to
Um,
see how they use Akers. Like Madison has done next
yeah,
to nothing these first 3 games with no competition, and then you bring in Akers, and
I just feel like Akers gonna need a little time to really learn everything.
I think so too. But the fact that they brought him in says a lot about what Madison's been doing so
I
far.
I'm going back to the Kyron thing. I'm not. Yes, I understand his usage. He's gonna come off the field, but like, it's not like the Colts have been terrible against the run. I mean, they haven't
No,
given
they've
up
been good.
100 feet. Lamar Jackson's the only person who's ran for 100 yards on them, and like, I mean, the way that the Colts are getting beat right now is through the air. I mean,
Mhm.
so I think like Puka and Tutu are like, if you want to get pieces of that game,
No,
I
I will get to receiver, but I
I
mean,
I think it's a trap call. I mean, a trap play. I mean,
ETN had 5 catches for 27 yards. What is it? In the Texans game,
Damien Pierce did nothing. 15
yeah,
for
Damian, but
31.
I mean that's okay. But
Well,
okay,
I'm
But
just
I do like Pierce this week against Pittsburgh. I think Houston's O line has been shoddy at best, but they're getting healthy right now. And Pittsburgh, even though their D line is insane, has not been great against the run. Um, so he's in that 5K range. He's below these guys that we're talking about being not in the most favorable matchups. He hasn't been what we, I think, in preseason anticipated him to be. Um, his usage hasn't been quite as good as we thought. CJ's been throwing the ball pretty well, but I don't hate him at 5,100. Um, what is his like? I guess he's been in kind of that range all year, 58 to 52. Um, so don't hate that matchup.
yeah.
okay. Now what? I mean, to me, the cheap ones I like are man with Eckler out, with Kelly just flopping and flopping and flopping at
No,
low ownership. I just have to. I'll be playing a little bit of him. It's kind of like an ugly cheap tier, but it's like these plays that have just sucked, and so no one's gonna play them, but they're still in good matchups. Najee Harris against Houston. Hate Najee. Don't think he's that good, but against Houston, I I have some interest. And then Javonte Williams, who I don't hate as a running back.
Yeah,
He's eased up, but I think his role is growing. And against Chicago, I like a little bit of Javonte.
yeah,
I
yeah. And
mean,
then on the other side of that ball, sorry, Corey. I mean, I touched on it with Fields, but Roshan and Herbert both. I think it's what 49 and 4,700. I think both are playable this week as well. You always have the the threat of Fields taking up a bunch of their usage, but again, Denver's defense is not playing for Sean Payton, and the run game is where they're getting absolutely torched. So getting exposure to these guys under 5K, I think, is definitely playable.
the one play that we didn't, it's back up kind of in. I was just thinking about it. Back up above. I know we've been talking about low guys, but I know it's gonna be a kind of a shootout. But I feel like you have to have interest in James Cook. I mean, he's like, talk about someone who's the only person back there. I mean, he's catching the ball. He's running the ball, and in a high scoring game, I like the running back on the side. If you just want to grab a piece from it, I think it's a way to get a little bit different. I think a lot of people are maybe going to overlook him and just look at the receiving options. But I like James Cook. I've liked James Cook all year, and this is a pretty good matchup against the Dolphins, who are better against the pass. I I don't hate it. I mean, obviously Josh Allen can steal touchdowns from him. That's the only issue. But
Yeah,
He's
his
out.
usage has been awesome too. I
yeah,
mean,
I think
da-
he's a solid leverage play if you're fading like Allen, you're just like yeah, you want that piece of the game. James Cook is probably the one you want.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, we will move on to wide receivers now. All right. So, who do you guys like at the expensive end?
or receivers. Well, if we like Josh Allen, then you would have to like the top two to three guys, Hill and Diggs. I mean, we've touched on it. I mean, for God's sake, Hill's 9,200. Uh, I'm not going to play any Hill. I don't think. I think I'm going to stay away from Hill, and just hope that he doesn't burn me. But that's just so he takes away so much of your value, like plays elsewhere. Especially when I think I like more, like if I'd like McCaffrey more than Hill, and I think it's just like you have to play one or the other. You can't play both, especially with the quarterback situation. I think Diggs, he hasn't had like a great year quite yet. I mean, he's been okay. I mean, last week was his first like huge game. 12 targets, 12 targets, 8 receptions. He only has one touchdown in the year. I think this could be a Diggs game, so I like Diggs over Hill.
Yeah, I like that call. If I'm playing Allen, yeah, I'm definitely leaning into Diggs. My biggest thing about this game is like I don't know because if this game shoots out, like someone on Miami, like I mean, you go back to I can't go back to Mostert, I don't think, but like A Chain, like probably not. Like who, like it's Waddle or Tyreek. It's like a really weird because they're so expensive. Maybe it's Waddle because no one's gonna play him.
It's tough.
Maybe. I mean maybe. I
I
mean
think that if I play that game, I think I might go Waddle.
yeah, I mean that's why I was saying if I was gonna play a
It's
game.
Dak is crazy expensive.
Yeah, it is. But if it shoots out, then
Right.
it's good. But what
Um,
about?
I mean, Jefferson
He's so
is
expensive.
too expensive. I mean, you would have to play Jefferson as a one off probably if you did one of the lower owned QBs that we talked about. Like maybe if you went like a Richardson or Fields route where you can single stack with a cheaper wide receiver, you might be able to fit in him. But at the same time, it's like you have Diggs and Tyreek at the top two who are in probably a better game script in a
The
shootout.
thing is, I think there's two receivers below Jefferson, Tyreek, and Diggs that are just as good of a plays as the ones more expensive than them. Like
Adams, Allen, Chase.
Adams, Keenan Allen, and Chase, I
Yeah.
actually prefer those three straight up over Diggs, Tyreek, and Jefferson. Like Jefferson's for sure my least favorite because he's so expensive, and it's against Carolina, who I don't think is gonna. I don't know. I just can't. I don't see that game being like a big shootout, and like that's how Jefferson. Like he was against the Chargers last week, and there was a pretty high scoring game, and like he still doesn't. I don't think he's paid off a tournament tag once yet.
Who?
I mean, he's
Jefferson.
quietly put up
Yeah.
basically 30 points every game.
And that still isn't good enough.
I know, it's
That's what
crazy.
I'm saying.
It's
Like
crazy.
at least for like to win you like these larger field tournaments. So obviously Tyreek's the one you're most scared to fade because of that ceiling. I don't know. Adams, Keenan, and Chase. That like I think I want one of those guys for sure. Like if I'm paying up at receiver, like I think Adams is in an insane matchup. I think Allen is in a crazy matchup, and I think Chase is. Like I'm. That's
Yep.
kind of where I know that we talk through it.
Yeah.
I'm on those
I
guys.
I agree. I agree. I mean, AJ Brown's going to see a lot of Amani Bates, who's been very good as a rookie corner over there. We talked about Waddle a little bit. Um, it's wide receivers tough at the top this week.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit tighter of a slate. Like there isn't a whole lot of value like at any position. So saving like from Adams, Keenan, and Chase, like yeah, I'm just gonna play those guys over the ones above them. Unless playing Josh Allen, then obviously I'll play some digs. But what about like the
I mean, is
mid
there
tier?
in that same vein? I mean, he's upper mid tier, but like, do we, in terms of the chase route, do we like saving $1,000 on a T Higgins?
I
In
was
it,
gonna say
So
I
bad.
I was gonna what?
I said he looked so bad last game. You would
he's
expect him to
dropped
bomb.
so much.
Okay.
He dropped
T
so many
Higgins
passes.
is like my like favorite tournament play of the week, I think.
Yeah, that game's going to be pretty low owned. He looked horrible last week. He's $1,000 cheaper than Chase.
That's why I think I like Burrow and like Burrow, Chase, Higgins, something like that. Oh, get that low owned.
I think you don't even go chase. I think
No, I mean you could do like I mean if I'm playing Burrow, I'm playing two guys, whether it's Chase Boyd, Chase Higgins, Higgins Boyd. I'm playing two guys with Burrow.
I mean
That's
I, I understand. I mean that's
Burrows can't move. Like
I know. I'm not
he's
saying
beating all those guys, he's gonna unless Chase scores or one of those receivers scores all three touchdowns, which can happen, but it's very unlikely. Like I'm just gonna play two of them.
I know. I think you could go sneaky. I think you get a low on Boyd. I think he just goes in, not touched at all.
I like
He did pretty well last week.
like Higgins is gonna be like 2% owned.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I like Higgins. I
Okay.
think people are gonna be off of him. I said that. I said he had a horrible game last
Oh,
week.
okay. I thought you were because he was horrible. You were like off of him, but no.
No. I like Higgins. I think he's a good play. Because the Titans suck and Higgins is pretty good at the game. So I mean, on
Decent
that,
at the game of football.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Puka is gonna be really high owned coming off a bad game.
Against the
Uh,
Colts, I mean, he is a good play.
he's a good. That's what I was saying. I don't like Kyron Williams. I like the passing game because that's how teams have been moving the ball in the Colts is through the air, unless you have a mobile quarterback, which obviously Lamar is the most mobile. So I like Puka.
I kind of like Tutu more than Puka
Yeah, I mean,
this week.
yeah, no, I like.
To me though, Puka's. I know Tutu had the better, but I mean, Puka, his role is still just absolutely insane.
I mean, he could
Yeah.
have just been a fluke of the first 2 or 3 games.
No.
I mean, they're just getting targeted a lot.
He's in the
And
Breakfast Club now, PB. He's in the Matt Stafford Breakfast Club, so watch out.
yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna be. I mean, Pittman again. I mean, dude's just a target machine against a very suspect secondary in the Rams. I mean, it's him and Josh Downs right now. And I think a lot of people are gonna play Josh Downs off of last week's performance where he was peppered a lot.
Called it.
You did call that. And PB laughed at us. Remember that?
But
do.
what was his stat line, Corey?
He had a
think he
very
had
good stat line.
Okay, what was
14
it?
fantasy points at
Yeah.
like 4K,
Yeah, that's not
4,200.
winning you a tournament.
If you're
He's-
playing
It's a
high
cheap
on,
piece.
yeah, a cheap piece.
Yeah, but I'm saying like 14 points isn't winning you a tournament.
I'm just saying, like you laughed at it, and he got a lot of volume. So if we're going off pure life volume, which all DFS
Yeah,
is
but that's Gardner
volume,
Minshew. That's Gardner Minshew.
I do not listen to me speak. I said Pittman is the better play this week because of what you just drive me nuts. You just don't listen.
It's Gardner Minshew with Pittman too. Like,
No, but the first 3 games or the first 2 games with
Richardson peppered him.
well, okay,
Yeah.
I guess it playing into my theory that he's gonna run less, but that's why. But to me, it's like I don't really like Pittman as a one-off, but I don't like stacking him because Richardson I don't think hits a ceiling just passing, so that's why he's a tough play for me.
I don't know. I like Pittman at that price tag. I think he's. I mean, if he was any other person, he'd be priced up more. I just don't understand why he's. But I mean, I refuse to play Gabe Davis. Not touch. You touched on Amari Cooper.
Oh, I will be playing some Gabe for sure.
Will not be touching Gabe. Amari Cooper 6,100. You've already touched on PB, and I think he's in a smash spot.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love Amari. That's again, I like Watson, so I love Amari, but I actually love Elijah Moore too. I think Elijah Moore is due for a really big game here soon. His underlying usage has been very, very good, and I'm gonna have a good amount of Deshaun Watson teams.
All right, Alex.
What else?
A guy in that range, in that Elijah Moore range that I love this week is Brandon Cooks.
Ooh,
Brandon Cooks. Yeah, Brandon Cooks. So I think Nick has touched on this before, but PFF has this wide receiver versus cornerback matchup stats, and Brandon Cooks is actually the sixth best matchup against all defenders on New England, including the guy he's going to face the most. That's behind Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Devontae. So you're getting a guy at 4,900. I don't love Dak, but as a one-off piece, you're getting exposure to a Cowboys offense that's looked okay. Um, their defense is really what's been winning them these games and these blowouts, but don't hate the matchup. And 4,900 is definitely for me a spot where you're able to get a big stack and you're able to get a wide receiver too in what's looking like a good matchup. I know New England's defense is stout, but the guys that he's facing, he's not going. I mean, CD's going to see the most of who's that corner they took in the first round out of Oregon. Uh,
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
That guy.
Yep,
I know who you're
one.
talking about.
That
I
guy.
don't know why I'm blanking on him.
But so Brandon Cooks is going to see the most snaps against Sean Wade, who's their second corner, with Josh Jackson out. So I think that's going to be a fairly ugly game. But at 4,900, I think Brandon Cooks is definitely, he's a boomer bust guy. I mean, at this stage in his career, he's a boomer bust guy. But I think towards the like 5K, sub 5K range, him and Elijah Moore, and I think a guy like Tank Dell is going to be extremely high owned this week after what he's been doing the last two. I think people are going to be a little bit off of Brandon Cooks. They're going to see the New England matchup, and I think he's someone who could put up some points this week.
I had Brandon. I literally had on my list Brandon Cooks avoid this week. To me, it's his man coverage. He's horrible against man coverage, and that's like pretty much all New England plays, and they've been like one of the best teams at man coverage. And Cooks has been one of the worst wide receivers against man coverage. So that was my biggest knock on Cooks.
That's definitely fair reasoning. I'm for sure using PFF as like the main backing of this argument, and obviously PFF is flawed, but they've got him ranked as a very, very good matchup. So in that mid range, again, I talked specifically about the Bears and DJ Moore here. He's a guy you play as the one off. If you're playing Justin Fields, you don't need to double stack. You don't need to necessarily be put a running back in there either. And at 5,600, DJ Moore is I think Fields is 66 or 69, whatever it is. So getting the two of them in there opens up pieces to these higher own or higher cost guys in Tyreek and Diggs and Devontae and these guys.
Yeah. If for me, feel like I'm just worried about Patrick Surtain.
Dude is not. I don't know if
dude, he's like one of the best corners.
I agree. I agree completely. I agree completely.
Are you talking 100%. About Tyreek Hill, who's unguardable?
No, I'm talking about just like that defense as a whole.
Yeah, but like at some point, it's like they just kind of like you're not, even though you're not putting in like all your effort. And Tyreek Hill, like there's not a corner that can guard him. He's just a different kind of human being. Surtain is like legit top two corner in the league.
Agreed.
He's so good.
Agreed.
All right.
So that's my biggest worry. But all right, what about like cheap guys?
Well, hang on. One more person we didn't touch on. Nico Collins is a better play than Tank Dell. A lot of people are probably going to gravitate towards Tank Dell. Nico Collins is still by far the person who's getting the most targets there. He is 500 more than Tank, and I think a lot of people are going to play Tank again. We talk about it all the time. A lot of new people to DFS, they look at the green markers next to the opponent rank. They go off of that. People are seeing Tank Dell as a cheap piece to play. Stay away from Tank Dell. He's a home run hitter. Nico Collins is a guy who's getting the most targets on that team. He's the better play. Play Nico, especially off a game where he got 3 targets. And what did Tank Dell get? Tank Dell got 7. So I'm playing Nico Collins over Tank Dell.
Nico is a bona fide X in the league.
Yep.
I already, I like Jacoby Myers. I mentioned that with Jimmy G, but I mean, his price is just way too cheap for his role. And then for me, like the dumpster bin, like just low owned tournament guys that
Wait.
I think have the upside.
Oh, wait,
What?
go for it. Well, I was gonna say because there's two plays right here that are very similar in pricing. And I don't know if you were gonna name them, but I want to get this out.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay,
You're talking
so
about Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer.
yes. So
Now I think Palmer is going to be very high owned.
I think so too. And the reason for that is based off, previous games, and the kind of the game script. Like Palmer outsnapped Johnson last week, but that was late into the game when Mike Williams got hurt. I think after a full week of workload and practice, I think Quentin Johnson is by far the better play, and I think he's going to get more looks than Palmer.
I think
Yeah,
it'll be
he,
really close between them. Like, and either one of them could have the big game. So you probably should just play the ownership game and play Johnson over Palmer. Like that's just what I would do if like the ownership holds and if they're going to be like equal ownership, like both 10%, then kind of maybe split it down the middle if you really want to get exposure. But if like Palmer's going to be closer to 20 and Johnson's going to be closer to 5, just play way more Johnson. Like
Yeah.
it's an easy decision there. But my guys that I was going to talk about was DJ Chark, and I think I mentioned him outside or maybe in the bet show. I just mentioned him briefly, but
yeah.
Vikings defense is so bad. And we might be getting Dalton again. I know he peppered Thielen, which Thielen will probably have decent amount of ownership. And, he's probably a solid play. But, I mean, Thielen, the most yards he had last year, I swear, was like 70 yards. Like, he had like a career game last week. And I know this is against his old team, so that doesn't help like the revenge narrative. But DJ Chark is the burner against this super slow Viking secondary. And he scored a touchdown last week, but he's in another great matchup this week. And if
Where's the
you're playing
price
right,
at?
what is 4K?
4K. Okay.
Yeah. And Van Jefferson, everyone's gonna be playing more Puka and Tutu. I think Van is like a really good pivot off of them because I mean he had some deep targets against the Bengals. He didn't come down with them or they were overthrown, but against this Colt secondary, he can definitely catch a long one here and put his name on the map in that Rams receiver core. So, and then we already talked about Boyd. Of course, I like him with since I love Burrow this week. So those are like Chark, Van Jefferson, and Boyd are probably like my favorite like low owned cheap guys.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally like no one underneath that.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean
the
it's pretty.
only other guy that I'll call out underneath that is, and keep an eye on the injury report because this is solely based off of that. But Ronnie Bell, you've got Jawan Jennings, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk not practicing this week.
Oh, okay. So you're saying if like two of them,
Ronnie Bell.
I'm saying keep an eye on the injury report. I mean, he didn't do a ton with his opportunity with Ayuk out, but you still had Debo in there. You still had Jawan Jennings in there. And both of those guys literally today, Thursday, just got popped on the injury report. So he might roll into a wide receiver 2 if you're saying Kittle's wide receiver 1 role against the Arizona Cardinals. So
I mean, if he was base, he'd be like, I mean, if that actually happens, I feel like the 49ers are always on the injury reports and then they play. So I'm not super worried, but yeah, he would
yeah,
obviously become a really, he'd open everything up.
yeah,
Catch play.
yeah.
Cash, fade in tournaments. That
Yeah.
would be what
And then is there any love for another Calvin Austin 70-yard touchdown?
No. Some of these guys are just pure like showdown plays. Like you just
Yeah.
All right, tight end. We'll try to cover tight end fairly quick and then build this lineup. We've gone quite long this time.
Yeah, for only
Um
3 of us.
Speaking of Kittle, he's
Yep.
gotta be like the best tight end play.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed.
I
Completely
mean,
agreed.
I mean, at 6,500, I think Hawkinson's going to get no shares at all because everyone wants to play high games. I think if you go a different route, lower quarterback, I think Hawkinson is a very, very good play with the ownership on him probably going to be low, with all the receivers going to be a lot of people spending their money on the top tier receivers. 6,500, he's the number 2 target there against Carolina, who's not very good against tight ends. Their defense is beat up. I like Hawkinson a lot. If you go a low quarterback route, obviously he's impossible to fit if you're playing that Bills Dolphins game. But I like him as a one off and getting a piece of that heavy pass offense of Minnesota. I think he's a good play.
Okay. We're just building it.
Oh, I thought we were done. You can keep going.
Oh, I like, if you go to the tight end tab real quick, I like Dawson Knox. I like the Bills tight ends this week. I think one of them does very well, and then Mark Andrews, because I like that game, and in all my Watson teams, like, I don't like the running backs on the Ravens. I don't like Zay Flowers this week. I don't like his matchup at all against the Browns. I think I'm just gonna be playing Andrews on every Deshaun Watson team, and I think that if I'm playing Fields, I actually like Komet more than DJ Moore against Sertan, so he'll be on any Fields team I have, and I think those are definitely my favorites at tight end.
Just want to throw in really quickly. Watson just scored a touchdown.
Saw that. All right.
We're watching Thursday Night Football as we play.
Let's build it.
Let's build the team.
All right. We were all over the board on quarterback. So PB shot through the mountaintop for Joey B. Alex, I'm not too keen on Joey B. I just don't think the Titans can keep up.
All right. So then the other ones that I like are Deshaun Watson, Fields.
Oh God.
Josh Allen or Winston.
I'm not playing Winston.
We have to decide if we're going, big stack, high QB.
Let's not
do,
let's not do Allen probably for this one, just because
it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah,
just in the Millie Maker, let's try to find a lower owned stack.
All right, and I say we do. I think we do Fields then.
Let's go.
I don't think Fields is going to be low owned. That's the problem. I think he's going to.
I think he is going to be low owned.
Let's go.
Don't at all. Everyone saw what Denver happened to Denver, and this is going to be the sneaky chalk play. Guarantee it. That's like my one bold call this week is Fields ends up being way more popular than everyone thinks he is. To me, Watson, but I don't know. You guys seem to be off.
Alex likes the under on that.
I liked it.
Oh, yeah, I do too. Yeah. So I'm not too keen.
All right, let's do Fields. I say if we do Fields, we do Komet instead of not Sertan. But then I think we do need Javonte, Judy, or Sutton. I think Sutton has the best matchup.
Sutton definitely has the best matchup, and Judy is again popping up on like trade rumors. He's questionable throughout the week because they don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah, let's do Sutton then.
Okay, now let's get away from this game, please.
Yes.
Hey,
no more of that. No more of that garbage. But it does open up a lot.
It does.
So I don't know. I say fade CMC. I say Pollard or Jacobs.
I like Jacobs. I know Corey likes Jacobs.
I like Jacobs. I also like Cook as well.
Cook?
I like James Cook.
Since we're fading that game.
Yeah, to get at least a one-off from the. I mean, I feel like you have to have something from that game. And if you think it's an under, if you don't think it's gonna,
I don't mind that if we're fading.
I think it's a good matchup, and he gets a lot of volume. But we can also play Jacobs as well. We can go.
I think we need to get one of these.
I kind of want to
lower, cheaper tier.
I kind of think we need to get one of these top 4 guys, top 5 guys.
Get Kyron. I really want to get Kyron in here.
Let's see what it does for us.
I just don't think it's a good play. Rather go passing attack against Colts than run game.
Agreed, but let's see what this opens up. So I think we were all pretty high on Devontae.
What do you know? What would be a really leverage spot to play this game is James Cook, Jalen Waddle, because and like everyone that plays that game, they're gonna play Diggs,
Yep.
Gabe, the tight ends, Mostert, A Chain. Like no one's playing Waddle, so like we would like completely lever that entire game with a James Cook Waddle stack.
All right,
We would.
now let's grab a defense.
Oh yeah. Let's start at the bottom and work up. That's usually the best way to do it. So no, 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 no.
It's
What?
I think I mean I think
Hang on.
I would like for defense. Um,
I'm
it's
fine with the
gross.
Browns. I'm fine with the Browns. I'd be fine with the
No.
Texans. I'd be fine with
Uh,
the Pats.
keep going up. I actually don't really like any of these ones yet. Keep going up, like past the Titans. I like the Saints against Baker.
What about Bengals?
The problem is
I
they
like
just
that.
run so much.
I'm not too worried about that though.
I mean, but PB, if going off what you think that the the Bengals are going to blow them out, they're going to have to throw the ball,
I don't necessarily think
and they have a terrible
my
offensive
biggest
line
worry,
and
like I
Hendrick.
still want to stack that game when I can with either Derrick Henry or Hopkins or Chig or something. But like if I'm playing Burrow, I want the game to be high scoring.
F it,
But
just throw the 49ers in there.
yeah, why not? Um, but no, I mean Eagles. What does that give us? 47-50? Because I mean it is like barely anyone's gonna play the 49ers, but that's rough to play. You need them to put up like 20, 30 points.
Okay.
All right, we probably shouldn't play the 49ers.
All right. Get the
Let's
49ers out
go
of
back
there.
down to the cheap. And what about Carolina? I don't know. Against the Vikings?
I mean, their defense is so banged up.
I know.
Don't love that.
I mean the Colts versus the Rams. No, we're playing Kyron.
Oh, we can easily move off that.
No, I don't think we should move off that. I mean, I don't mind.
The Bucks against New Orleans.
No. Play the Saints, who are right above them. This is tough. Like defense is way tougher this week than usual. Like I just don't like a lot of the spots. Oh, what
I would
about the
rather go
Broncos?
Eagles than
Or
Niners.
no, we have
I would rather go Eagles than Niners. Sam Howell's the
okay,
most sacked
yeah.
quarterback through 3 weeks in the league, and
Okay.
the Eagles' defensive front is
Insane. All right.
Yeah.
Eagles is, and then let's get do we want to do,
That's a good call.
do we want Johnson or Palmer, or do you want to go off that because they're going to be high owned and go like, who would you say, PB?
So the ones I like that are cheap are DJ Chark,
Oh, let's go
Tyler
Chark. He's a good-
Tyler Boyd,
or Boyd.
or Van Jefferson, which Van Jefferson
all
or no,
three.
Van we already have Kyron, so we don't have to do
Yeah.
that.
So
Um,
DJ or
I mean
Boyd.
Boyd is in a good matchup.
That's a great matchup.
God,
What does that leave us?
Let's do
6K.
Let's do
So
Boyd.
we're at Moss and down.
Get you Gabe Dave. No, we can't do Gabe.
I would like
DJ.
I would do I mean if we did Chark, we can do Madison.
What if we went and got Elijah Moore? And then we can move up
Instead of Boyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Elijah Moore this week.
He has more scoring upside than
He's 600 more.
that's okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
fine because then we get one of these running backs.
Oh, you do double tight end with Andrews.
No, I don't want. I hate double tight end.
I don't know why you hate that so much.
It's awful. We could do Josh Kelly.
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Who's above? Who is
What about
Pierce?
Nico?
Pierce,
No.
Nico.
I say Jerome Ford. No, we already have Elijah Moore. I mean, we could both of them, but
Kittle.
Pickens, McLaurin. Oh no, we have the Eagles D. I'd say Josh Kelly. I think he fits. It's fading all of those Chargers. Keenan Allen high on Palmer, Herb, like, and we just play the guy no one's gonna play that can. It's against the Raiders. Like we think they're gonna be ahead. They've just lost Mike Williams, so they could run the ball. I think Kelly is a great play this week.
All right. So
He's going to be the lead back still.
From a name standpoint, this is the ugliest lineup
And
that
that's
we've
what
ever
wins.
built in the entire
Isn't that not a
3
lineup
years
that
of
you
this
look
show.
at and
And
you're
you
like,
go,
how did this?
you go,
Yeah. And then it
That's
wins.
so gross.
All right, we spent too
It
long
either
on this show.
it either wins or it goes like 10
but that's
total
you
points.
either want you want it to be either all the way to the left or all you shoot for ceiling, and that tells a story, in my opinion.
Yeah, apologize for the long episode.
That was so long,
was a
but
long
we're done. And you know, we'll be back next week when Nick's on the show. Maybe Nick will speed it up. He seems to speed things up for us. So, all right. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.